Coming up on this episode of the Upper One podcast, we catch up with what's been going on. I know it's been a while, as well as Homer, the end of the road, and a first for the state. Stay tuned.
And now podcasting from the great state of Alaska, this is the Upper One Podcast.
Welcome back to this episode of the Upper One Podcast. As I stated in the intro, we're going to talk about Homer. Well, one of the things that is connected with Homer is Hobo Jim. And with that being said, I would like to thank everybody that was a contributor, gave me stories, listened to it. All my analytics say that it's been listened to and streamed and downloaded 350 times, and that's amazing. So thanks again. With that being said, I do need to make an apology. I started that episode and uploaded it about a day early. I did get one more story that came through, and I didn't get it included. So Brooke, my friend Brooke Falk, I'm sorry. I will get that onto a future episode. I'm just going to read it at the beginning of the episode. That way I got it done. So Brooke, I'm sorry. With that being said, just some things going on around Alaska. We've had some cold weather the end of November and into December. It usually happens in January, February. So we've been, in negative temperatures. I still got some hockey going on. I play once a week. As I said, with the weather, it's been really cold. So even though things are frozen and there is outdoor ice, that's a little too cold for me. I've taken the kids to a few more wrestling shows like I did one more wrestling show. We went in August, and we just here recently, the beginning of December, we went again. The WrestlePro Alaska is about to have their third anniversary show at the Egan Center, April 9th. Still trying to decide if I'm going to go to that or not. They are charging way more for tickets, and I'm not sure I'm ready for that yet. But we did have fun. I actually did get to talk to Dion Roosman, who is from Wasilla. He is the WrestlePro champion. There was a few interactions with that. They did have a 2-day event, which I did. I believe I posted a link so that, if you wanted to watch it. Might have been more on my personal page than the Upper One Podcast page, but you could see me and the kids and everybody walking in the door. You could see Dion. You could see some of the interactions with the wrestlers on the Friday night that we went to, and then again there was some interactions on the Saturday night Anchorage show, and I did just see that they scheduled him for a match April 9th. So hopefully he's coming out of his surgery and his rehab and able to perform as well then as he has in the past. So good luck, Dion. With that being said, the intro said Homer, Alaska. I got some news about Homer. I'm going to save that for the end of the show, as well as the first for Alaska. That's going to be at the end of the show, but sucking on them teeth, Steve Glines. I did, speaking of Steve Glines, I did make the Dump and Change podcast again. I've been on it as a guest for a few minutes on one episode. I do believe that there was another mention to this. I will call it an incident. It was, I got a game misconduct during a game a couple years ago, and it turned into a big, funny ha-ha. Let's post this on social media. And so, they were talking about some more stuff that happened this year on another team that led to another incident that happened on my team this year with another teammate. And then that rolled into my misconduct and the referee report that has to, get sent to USA Hockey. So kind of funny. Haha. Thanks again, Reed. You guys make me laugh my ass off every time. With that being said, let's get into this episode. I don't want to babble on any more than I have to or already have. All right, welcome back. So Homer, Alaska is 218 miles southwest of Anchorage. The 2020 population was 5,522, which was up from 5,003 just 10 years prior. Homer is called the halibut fishing capital of the world, the end of the road, and most recently, which is news to me, the cosmic hamlet by the sea. That's something I need to research. From what I can find, the record for halibut in Homer is 316.6 pounds, which was kind of it's not a funny story, but it happens all the time. When you go down, people go down and go fishing. You get on these charter boats or even personal friends' boats during a derby where you can win lots of money. A lot of people forget to grab a derby ticket. It might cost 10 or 15, maybe even 20 or 25 bucks. But if you win 50,000 bucks for it, it was well spent because of the rules. If I drop a line with bait on it or a jig or whatever, I'm attempting to fish for a species of fish, that is considered my catch. Now, if it's a 300-pound halibut and it takes me 4 hours to get it up, even though I pass the rod off and let some other people reel, I may not be the guy that lands that fish, but because I put that line in the water, that goes on my tag. So unfortunately for this gentleman, he didn't have a tag, but his son did, and they tried to get away with that, but it didn't happen. So he lost out on that. Anyhow, 316.6 pounds is the halibut record in Homer from what I can find. The only drivable road into Homer is the Sterling Highway. Homer is on the shore of Kachemak Bay. It is on the southwest side of the Kenai Peninsula. Homer's main distinguishing feature is the Spit. So the Homer Spit, it's a 4.5 mile gravel bar. Homer is 25.5 square miles. Of that, 15 square miles is land and 10.5 square miles is covered by water. The average January high temperatures are slightly above freezing. The annual snowfall is about 50 inches, and that's partially because they are on one section of the, where they're covered by the Chugach Forest, but then at the same time, they kind of get protected from the ocean and other stuff like that because of Kachemak Bay and then, Cook Inlet. So they only get about 25 inches of rainfall annually. Summers average 55 to 75. And then some of the extreme temperatures, you live in Alaska, you got extreme temperatures. January 28th and 29th, 1989, they had minus 24 degrees as their lowest recorded temperature. And then July 10th, 1993, 81 degrees Fahrenheit. Coal was discovered in Homer in the 1890s. Coal mining in the area continued up until World War II. And to this day, there is still an estimated 400 million tons of coal present in the area that has not been mined. Homer was named after the gold miner Homer Pennock, who arrived in 1896, but gold mining didn't really pan out, no pun intended. So the dominant industries down there are halibut and salmon fishing, tourism, and commercial fishing as well. In 2006, Homer co-hosted the Arctic Winter Games. Homer first appeared on the 1940 U.S. Census, but, as I stated earlier, Alaska wasn't a state yet. So formerly, Homer was incorporated in 1964. I don't know if that has anything to do with anything statehood or not, Because of its location on the Kenai Peninsula and the abundance of natural resources and marine habitats, many public education programs are focused on the environment. Homer is the southernmost town on the Alaska Highway System, and it is also part of the Alaska Marine Highway. One of the things that happened in Homer, because it was such a small town, is they didn't get their first traffic light erected until 2005. And I don't know if that's the one actually in Homer right there next to McDonald's, right before you go out across the spit. Another cool thing is, with the Coast Guard up here, one of the 6 Coast Guard Island class cutters are stationed in Homer. One of the landmarks in Homer is called the Salty Dog Saloon. The Salty Dog was originally one of the first cabins built in Homer in 1897, soon after they established the town site. In the late 1940s, Chuck Abbott acquired it. In 1949, Chuck and his friend Gerald Gifford put the cabin on skids and moved it to the Homer Spit. In April of 1957, he officially opened it as the Salty Dog Saloon. By 1960, the Salty Dog had a building adjacent to it, coinciding with the Alaska Territory becoming the 49th state of the Union in 1959. This next guy, Earl D. Hillstrand, was an attorney, small businessman, and a member of the Alaska House of Representatives. He purchased it in 1960. Although he was an Anchorage resident, he had a homestead near Homer and was in the process of developing the nearby Land's End Resort at the time, which I will touch on here in a minute. But the reason why I'm talking about the Salty Dog, it is a major landmark down on the Spit. It looks like a little cabin with a lighthouse attached to it. When you go in the bar, there are numerous attractants from dollar bills to other garments hanging on the ceilings and the walls. I talked about Earl Hillstrand because the saloon has been featured on the Deadliest Catch show on the Discovery Channel. And like I said, is known for the thousands of dollar bills signed by visitors and tacked to the walls. That practice started many years ago when a visitor tacked his dollar on the wall, explaining that his friend would be by later. The dollar was intended on buying the friend a drink. I don't know if they're still actively doing that, but literally there's thousands of dollars signed by somebody tacked to the wall. And like I said, there's other clothing garments as well if you want to use your imagination. So getting back to Earl Hillstrand and the Deadliest Catch, I looked it up. His son is John Hillstrand. Well, John Hillstrand was the owner of the Time Bandit, which the original Time Bandit is no longer a crab boat. It's been recommissioned to something else. But Earl's grandson, which is Jonathan Hillstrand from the Deadliest Catch, that's where the boat that you see on the Deadliest Catch, that's why it says Homer, Alaska, or it said Homer, Alaska initially. I think it says Kodiak now, but I did get to meet Captain John one time with Ken Peltier at Eddie's Sports Bar. So, I kind of got to meet him. But that's why I brought up this Salty Dog Saloon as a landmark, because it is a Homer landmark as well as being used on that show. After all that's said and done, I'm going to come right back. I've got there's a few famous people, notable people that have either lived in Homer or were born in Homer, and I'll get to that after this next segment. Welcome back to this final episode. Welcome back to this final segment on Homer, Alaska, the end of the road. So as I stated, There are a few notable people that are either from Homer, meaning they were born there, or they have lived there. This first one is Ambrose Olson. He was an American fashion model. There's not a lot that I looked into this guy, but he had dozens of ad campaigns for Armani and Hugo Boss. So you've probably seen him if you had a magazine or maybe seen a billboard or something. You've probably seen him on one of those Armani or Hugo Boss. Another one is Tella O'Donnell, an amateur wrestler. 2004 Olympics in Greece, Tella took 6th. She is currently the resident athlete for the development program at the U.S. Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. So she's still contributing to her sport. I've got I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right, but her name is Shannym, Shannym Moore, and there is no relation. She is a political writer based in Alaska, written for the Huntington Post. She's been on Rachel Maddow. She's been on The Countdown with Keith Olbermann, and she was then a prominent critic of Sarah Palin during when Sarah Palin was our governor. I don't know if she's still a critic of her or not, but she probably is. I don't want to get too much into that because, religion and politics are not part of this show. Another one is Kristen Faulkner, a professional cyclist. She was a Harvard grad of 2016 for varsity rowing. She holds the Harvard record for the fastest 2,000 indoor rowing for the lightweight women. Fastest 2K indoor rowing. Say that 3 times fast. 2K or 2,000. Jean Keane was very well known on Homer. She was known as the Eagle Lady. She was born in 1923. She died in 2009. She was a former trick rodeo rider. She's been publicized in Reader's Digest, National Geographic, The Washington Post, People, Life was on Ripley's Believe It or Not, and Rush Limbaugh had her on. The 2004 book by Gary Anderson was titled The Eagle Lady. Jean had the 2004 Lifetime Meritorious Service Award from the Bald Eagle Foundation. The Daily Show filmed for 2 days in 2006 about her feeding the eagles and the controversy behind it. She died January 13th, 2009 from a respiratory condition. The city council passed a resolution banning feeding of eagles, crows, ravens, and other predatory birds after her passing. There is a memorial stone erected by the city of Homer at the end of the spit on the water's edge. So she would go sit down on this bench and just feed the eagles for hours at a time, days at a time. And that controversy was from, this, that, and the other entity saying, oh, that's not right, blah, 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 blah. Well, because she did it for so long, nobody ever really said anything until after she passed away. And that's when they made that resolution banning the feeding of eagles and other predatory birds. So another one is Tom Bodett. You hear his voice on the Motel 6 commercials. We'll leave the light on for you. That's his famous slogan. 1986, Tom Bodett was building houses in Homer. He's not from Homer. He was up here working and living, building houses. When he was heard on the NPR, the National Public Radio, by a creative director at the Richards Group ad agency, which led to the Motel 6 skid. That "We'll leave the light on for you" slogan was ad-libbed by Tom Bodett. And he's been the chain's spokesperson ever since. So, he's adjusted to everything. I've heard some newer commercials talking about, lights and this and that and leaving this and that on. But Tom Bodett still is that guy. Another famous person, I don't know if he's still living here or not, because there was a lot of controversy over the area where he bought his property. But Zac Brown from the Zac Brown band, the country music band, he had bought some property up here. There's some video of him singing his song and playing his song that he wrote up here called "We're All in the Same Boat." There's a video of him on the boat out in Kachemak Bay and some other places that I don't remember where all, but Zac Brown lived here. I hope he still lives here. But the controversy was there's easement onto a trailhead or something right off the edge of his property or right through his property, and he was wanting to enclose that off because he didn't want people coming through, and I think that all mostly stemmed from, with him being famous, that they were, he felt that maybe they were there just to pry on his privacy or this or that. But he fought the city council and stuff like that. So I don't know how that turned out. I think he lost, but that may have led to him actually selling that property. I don't remember 100%, but I think that was the talks. Whether he still lives here or not, I don't know. As I stated before, my previous episode was Hobo Jim. He's spent a lot of time playing in the bars down there, the Salty Dog Saloon and other places in Homer. Most famously, he's done the commercials and the songs for the Land's End Resort. So that's, Hobo Jim has some ties to Homer. And last but not least, probably for me, the biggest name. Most recently, if you watch The Masked Singer, the winner of The Masked Singer this year was the Queen of Hearts. And at the end of whether that person in the mask got eliminated or won, the mask comes off. Well, it turned out to be Jewel Kilcher. Everybody knows her story. She's a Grammy Award winner, nominated. She was previously married to Ty Murray. Her family is the Kilchers on the Alaska, The Last Frontier, and you can actually even hear her singing on that song. So everybody knows Jewel. All right, so I promised it at the beginning of this episode. A first for the state of Alaska. After 100 years, not all of it Alaska's been a state. I don't know how many of it has been represented, but for the first time ever, Alaska has now a Miss America contestant. Miss Alaska, Emma Broyles, won the Miss America contest. Emma's 20 years old. She's a Service High graduate of Anchorage, Alaska. She is a junior at the Honors College portion of Arizona State. She's majoring in biomedical studies as well as a minor in voice performance. I've seen pictures of her where she's donated her time to the Special Olympics. But we finally won. Alaska is representing Miss America. So I'm pretty excited about that. I have a few other friends that have posted. I believe they know her, Bobby Hill, my friend Bobby, as well as another friend, because of Special Olympics. So with that being said, congratulations, Emma. Congratulations, Alaska. I am pretty stoked about that because I don't know if New Mexico, my home state, I don't even know if New Mexico's even ever won it. Within that 100 years, I think our win percentage is a lot higher than some of the other states because we may not have even been part of, I don't think, for 100 years because Alaska's not even 100 years old. Anyhow, Again, that was that. This is the Upper One Podcast. I'm going to close the show out by saying thanks again for sticking with me. Please like and share the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Follow, like, share. Click buttons. Do what you do. This is Scott in a bone-chilling 20 degrees, a lot warmer than negative 20 degrees. Eagle River, Alaska. I've got some stuff to do. I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for joining me. We will talk to you next time.